Oh yeah, there is this 9 minutes. They talked about Illuminati, and I'm interested. Because historically they exist, the Illuminati. Yeah, it's 8 minutes. We can watch 8 minutes quickly. There's apparently a historian who talks about the Illuminati, my friends. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to say. Do they still exist? And do they have power? An invisible government? Are they the ones that are actually in control of everything? Are they trying to push for a new world order? Like, all of that is the part that actually is usually talked on in, say, various venues online. But when it comes to today, there is this interview from Lex Clips, so that's why it's a short one. And its historian explains the Illuminati secret society. I'm really curious. Let's see what the professor says.
You've talked about from everything from the Knights Templar to Illuminati to Freemasons, like we brought up. Freemasons lasted a long time. Illuminati, as you've talked about, in its sort of main form, lasted a short time, but its legend
never gone away.
Never gone away. So maybe like Illuminati is a really interesting one. What was that?
Well, the Illuminati that we know, founded by a professor, Adam Weishaupt.
It's always a professor, guys. That's why I tell you gotta be careful with professors. They always have agendas to push. Not always, but I mean,
it wasn't initially called the Illuminati because that's not really the name of the organization. It was called the Order Perfectibilists. Apparently that changed. Weishaupt would say things like, never let our organization be known under its real name anywhere, which leaves wondering what's its real name. So Illuminati is simply the plural of illuminatus, which means one who is illuminated, one who has seen the light.
Illuminatus, Illuminati. We have the word in Italian, I'm going to add to what the historian is saying. It is Latin, but it's one of those words that has almost entirely moved on to Italian. The only difference is instead of saying illuminatus, we say illuminato. And then for plural, though, it stays the same, illuminati. And it does mean enlightened, if I had to. So he says one who sees the light. What was the other translation that he did? Let me see.
Plural of illuminatus, which means one who is illuminated.
One who is illuminated. Yeah, illuminated or enlightened. It can be both. And just to give you an example, in common parlance, I could take 5 phones, put them all on top of this table, turn a light on them and say, I miei telefoni, my phones, are illuminati. Illuminated meaning that they are lit up, basically. They're well lit. That's what it means.
One who has seen the light. So in Roman times, Christian converts were Illuminati. That's right. Because they had seen the light. Anyone who thinks, and there have been organizations called Illuminati. That the term is not trademarked, not copyrighted. Anybody who thinks they've seen the light about anything is an Illuminati. So
could you imagine a secret society copywriting the term that they don't want you to use, but then the moment you do use it, you get slapped with a cease and desist from you don't know who.
It defines nothing. The symbol of the order was an owl.
Yes.
Which, interestingly enough, is almost identical to the owl, which is the emblem of the Bohemian Club.
Okay, but it's an owl. I don't want to be a contrarian necessarily, but come on, it's an owl. How different can an owl be? And besides, if we look at these two, they don't look, in fact, they don't, if anything, this one looks more like the owl that is a symbol of Minerva, so Athena in Roman sense, than this. I don't know. Maybe we're pushing it a little bit with that one.
Oh boy.
Make of that what you will.
I make of that nothing. Massive announcement. Check this out. You're going to love it. As many of you know, or at least I think you know, I've been writing a book, my new journey into becoming an author. I've mentioned this on a few videos and on X, but this book was indeed crowdfunded. Now, any person who has donated or will donate to the crowdfunding will receive a full audiobook, and this is crowdfunding exclusive. So, as a way to say thank you to the people that have donated and supported my dream of becoming an author, if you have a minimum of $5 donation, you will receive the entirety of the audio file of the book, recorded by me with my voice, no AI involved, as a crowdfunding exclusive reward. This applies retroactively, so for all 262 donors that I've had so far, you'll get this, and anyone who decides to donate $5 or more, thank you very much, never expected, always appreciated, then you will be guaranteed a audio file of the book by the end of the crowdfunding campaign. Important, once the crowdfunding campaign is over, this audiobook version will not be made for sale. So this is, once again, crowdfunding exclusive. It's a perk. If you're interested in the audiobook, click the link in the description, and thank you so much.
I don't make that much out of it because one owl looks pretty much like another owl to me. Exactly, but compare them, you got to kind of wonder about this. Just a little thing. Maybe there's some kind of connection there. So, but that supposedly has to do with a connection to the goddess Minerva, and the owl was sacred to her, and the order was the Minerval, the person who was brought in. The number of levels changed over time. There was a higher level for the order that people at the lower level didn't know about. Pretty typical for this. But the thing about...
Isn't it a bit like that with Scientology too? That's another one. That's one that I've always been... it's in... The beliefs with the space vacuum and the souls of the aliens, and then it's clearly sci-fi. The author, the founder, is a sci-fi author. How much more clearer can it be? I mean, no disrespect. I mean, you're free to believe whatever you want. If you tell me right now that you thoroughly believe in Thor, and you every Thursday, the day of Thor, that's where it comes from, you have your little altar. I'm not going to mock you because I believe in the resurrection of Christ. I can't prove it to you. And you believe that Thor is listening to your prayer and you can't prove it to me. It's fine. To each his own. But then again, with Scientology and the amount of money, with the little machinery thing that is used to gauge your spirituality, whatever, I mean, how? I just don't get it. I think people probably join it when you belong to Hollywood mostly, rather than by faith. They must join it out of the advantages that it must provide. Because too many Hollywood celebrities end up being part of this religion. Is it even a religion? Is it a cult? I don't know the exact terminology, nomenclature, the appropriate nomenclature, because I want to be precise with my language. With that being said, there has to be, there are definitely some social advantages, some economic advantages. There must be some advantages when you join. But then again, there is also the fact that it's so expensive with all those, and not to mention time consuming. But there has to be something that they gain. So now that you belong to this, we'll hook you up. We'll hook you up. There has to be something to it, because I cannot understand how it's like he's a sci-fi author. And when you literally listen to what they believe in, it's a sci-fi book. But then again, an atheist could come and tell me, why do you believe in your religion? That's why I don't want to stress it too much. I'm saying at a personal level, I would never be convinced that there is anything real when it comes to Scientology, ever. But that's me, okay? That's just me. I get it. I suppose at that point, you could tell me, yeah, but you believe in your thing. Yes, I do. And that's fine. That's why I'm saying at a subjective level. At a personal level, I just don't see the appeal to it at all. But that's me.
Weishaupt was that he was a luminous correspondent with members with his Illuminati, both during the time that it legally existed in Bavaria and later on. So Weishaupt himself lives, I think, until 1830. Dies in Gotha, which was ruled by an Illuminati prince, and so nothing ever happens to these men. No Illuminati is ever put to death or arrested, imprisoned for any period of time.
I mean, there could be a connection to people in power. I can see that.
What happens is that their plan, what was his plan? His plan was to essentially replace all existing religions and governments in the world with a one world order governed by the Illuminati.
Right.
So to do this, you had to subvert and destroy all the existing order. And, he argued the purpose for this is to, we wish to make men happy and free, but first we must make them good.
Oh, right.
So that's what the order is all about. Of course, he also said things like, oh man, is there nothing that you won't believe? Okay, so myth would be used in that. Also thought women should be brought into it. He had a rather interesting view about that, was that we should appeal to women, in part because women have a chip on their shoulder. because they're left out of things. So we should appeal to their vanity on that.
Man. Yeah, I'm sure feminists will love that.
Point. And offer that in the future, all things will be open and they will be emancipated. So we should hold out the prospect of female emancipation to attract them, because he argued in the short term, there's no better way to influence men than through women. Get women on our side by promising them emancipation, but he made sure we'll never actually deliver it to them, because the future world will be a boys' club. So,
man, holy moly, does that feel relevant?
Well, he talks about these things fairly openly, and this is where you get this idea of some sort of a new world order, which is to be based upon the destruction of the existing order.
Like destruction of nuclear family at that point, and religion.
So there are those who argue that there is a trail of descent that leads from Weishoff's Illuminati to the Communist Manifesto, and in fact, communism itself. That Marxism was simply a further restating of this idea. And you can draw some sort of connection. I mean, the idea never entirely goes away. The Bavarian government gets a hold of the orders.
Man, it's going to get controversial a lot more than I thought.
Inner texts. So the story is they're delivered to them. I think that Weishaupt gave them to him. I think he engineered the exposure of his order because it gave him publicity. By being exposed in Bavaria, you gained great renown, and they continued to recruit after this, and the Bavarian government actually bans the Illuminati 4 different times.
Sounds a bit like the Romans, because the Romans do ban things, but when they have to ban them multiple times, it means that the previous bans either were not enforced, or in general, just they didn't work. Obviously, I mean, that's an obvious thing to say, but I'm just thinking of, there are a couple of situations that happen, even in Roman law. You were saying, what's that society that half of labor are members of, and they promote its ideology? Yeah, Fabian society. They couldn't hide it for long. Their ego is too big. Ego is indeed a resource that you can exploit from the masses. When it comes to the connection to communism, I mean, I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? The one thing, though, is that I have a bit of an orthodox, maybe, view on communism, in the sense that obviously I'm not in favor of it. I think that's quite obvious, but not from necessarily just from a political perspective or historical. Those are the main cardinal aspects of it. But it's very much, my opposition to communism is rooted in religion, in the sense that, to me, feel free to disagree, but to me, when you look at communism from a utopic perspective, because then they come to you and tell you, oh yeah, but what they did in the USSR wasn't true communism. We tried. It was socialism, but going towards the goal of the unachieved goal. And that's why people ended up in the gulags in the millions. Now, that's a little bit of a weak explanation to the way, why it didn't work, why people starved. I mean, even in the division of Germany, when it was split by the wall, you could tell which side was run in the communist way and which side was run in the capitalist way. It's obvious. I'm not saying that capitalism is sainthood. Absolutely not. There are a lot of problems with capitalism. And I'm someone who understands that. I would like to see less, what would you say, accumulation of wealth for single individuals. I do understand that point. But with that being said, if you were to ask me where I think communism comes from, I think it's demonic. I think it's the demonic mimicking of Christianity and the Christian principles of everyone is equal, everyone should be, taken care of, that kind of thing, but demonic. In fact, one of the first things they tried to do was to get rid of the poor. No, not the poor. Well, yeah, they did the awful things to like people that had, including minorities, by the way, but whatever. They tried to get rid of religion. They systematically attacked Christian faith and in general religion. They wanted a godless country, and they almost got one, and it was a living hell. But that's why sometimes when you look at some principles taken outside of the historical context of what actually happened, the principle sounds good in theory. So to me, literally, communism is because if you think about it, when they say, oh, power to the people, it sounds nice, but then they were oppressed and there was no democracy whatsoever. So where is this power? In your words is the power. But at the end of the day, it's just a despotic, totalitarian regime, just like the Nazis were, just like the fascists were. That's what it was. The only difference was in the economic sense and attitudes to private property up to a certain extent, because then again, I mean, Hitler also wasn't about private property. He pretended to be. Given one could argue that the reason why the state took the control of means of production was because of war. But then again, who decided the war? He did. So it's not like, yeah, okay, he found the reason. It's the war. Who knows? Probably would. Personally, I think he would have continued that way even had he won. Because one of the characteristics, including of like Benito Mussolini, Giovanni Gentile, and fascism, is anti-individualistic system. Everything is the state. The individual only exists in function of the state. So the individual can become wealthy as long as that wealth belongs to the state. That's anti-individualism. And so that's, even though, once again, attitude towards private property may vary, theoretically, still, it is what it is. And that's why, I mean, at the end of the day, the only, and I'm going to put it in quotation marks, communist system that appears to function at an economic level is the one in China. Why? Because it's capitalist in nature. That's not, that is not an a communist system at all. Is it now? So so there is that. But anyways, it is a sales pitch for totalitarianism. Yeah, no, I can see that. Absolutely.
Why? Because apparently the first 3 times didn't work.
Yeah, there you go.
So the fourth one does. You can notice that it's like papal bans on Freemasonry. And they just go on and on and on because this clearly isn't working.
And you actually highlight the difference between... speaking of publicity, that there's a difference between visibility and transparency, that a secret society could be visible, it could be known about, it could be quite popular, but you could still have a secrecy within it.
You have no idea what's going on inside.
Yeah.
It's like a black box. If I set a black box on this table, we can see that there is a black box. What's in the black box? A cat? Who knows?
In fact, the secrecy might be
Is the cat alive and dead at the same time?
The very thing that makes it even more popular.
Adam Weishaupt again, there's no more thing convincing than a concealed mystery. Give people a concealed mystery in the thought. So we need to make the order mysterious for that exact reason. Always hold out the possibility that knowledge, special knowledge that no mere mortals have other than you, will have in that way. So he senses a lot of
very cultish, if you win.
Of things. The use of vanity and ego to recruit people, to influence both men and women. It's quite sophisticated. And as you might expect from a professor of canon law trained by Jesuits. So I certainly don't think that it ceased when it was banned in Bavaria, because everybody just scatters and goes elsewhere, like Paris. And then you have the French Revolution.
So
that's a very bold connection right there. Interesting, intriguing, but it is a very bold connection.
The idea of the Illuminati, to put it crudely, the branding is a really powerful one. So it makes sense that there's a thread connecting it to this day, that a lot of organizations, a lot of secret societies can sort of adopt the branding.
Anybody can call it. You can go out and form a club and call it the Illuminati.
And if you're effective at it, I think it does attract, it's the chicken or the egg, but powerful people tend to have gigantic egos, and people with gigantic egos tend to like the exclusivity of secret societies. And so like it's a gravitational force that pulls powerful people to these societies.
It's exclusive. Only certain. And you also...
Yeah, I would say the exclusivity. The big boosted massive ego, I do think that up to a certain extent is a byproduct of social media. And because if you think about it, when you become, whether it be a streamer, a content creator, really everything is about you. Everything becomes about me, me, me. You are the product, which is what it is. Your thoughts are the product. Your personality becomes the focus. And then up to a certain extent, I think all content creators, and I have to include myself, suffer from a little bit of main character syndrome and a little bit of, and it's just, it is what it is, because it's constantly having the camera on you and having people talking about you positively or negatively. It's just what it is. Now, I do think that the worst possible scenarios are those streamers that begin relatively young, and then that's all they have known, and so now they give it for granted, and then you end up hearing stuff such as, do you know who I am? I have X amount of followers, so, which is one of the most, if I ever say anything like that, you gotta tell me, Metatron, you told me to tell you you're a Muppet. So, because I will do anything I can to never fall to that level of, it makes my skin, anyways. But yeah, that happens. I think the ego thing, that's why everyone is suing everyone, by the way, recently. I don't know if you noticed. Given some are justified, if someone is literally thinking, if they're getting away with defamatory claims that they're borderline criminal, you should sue them. But these days, everyone is suing everyone, even when they clearly do not have a case, because one, this is new money, and they don't know what to do with the amount of money that they're getting, and two, it's just their ego is too big. They just can't let it go. I'm going to sue you. And then there is legal mindset that tells us this is a ridiculous claim. He's going to lose 100%. She's going to lose 1,000%. It's all about the inflated ego.
Notice something goes back to when we were talking about much earlier, when we were talking about intelligence. Remember, mice? Ego is a means of recruitment and control. That's a great Achilles heel in human beings, the exploitation of ego.
Yeah.
And of course, if we go back to the conversation of intelligence agencies, it would be very efficient and beneficial for intelligence agencies to infiltrate the secret societies, right? Like, because that's where the powerful people are.
Yeah. Or the secret societies to infiltrate the intelligence agencies.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, what an ending. Oh, I got to listen to that one again. Man, the ending was actually quite powerful.
For intelligence agencies to infiltrate the secret societies, right? Like, because that's where the powerful people are.
Yeah. Or the secret societies to infiltrate the intelligence agencies.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, indeed. Man, that was kind of interesting. Little clip right there to discuss a little bit. Two very intelligent people, sounds like the modern day WEF. This is okay. Wikipedia description, I didn't see that. This guy didn't get my attention until the very end, where he totally nailed it. Or the secret societies infiltrates the intelligence agencies. Bingo. Interesting. Yeah, the final sentence. People liked the final sentence. The final sentence is quite powerful. Interesting stuff. Yeah, that was cool. A little bit of a short one when it comes to that, but interesting indeed. I'll have to look this professor up a little bit and have a look at what he brings to the table